What's up, guys? This is Manoj Poptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. So, guys, how are you feeling nowadays? Each one of you who has been studying law, auditing, I'm sure that you guys are enjoying your day to the fullest, and certainly you guys must be eagerly waiting for some of the exciting videos as far as the topics of auditing and law are concerned. So, on public demand, and in order to fulfill all of your wishes with respect to our forthcoming presentations, Edupedia World has provided me the opportunity to interact with you and make you guys understand some of the concepts relating to advanced auditing and as well as corporate and allied laws. So, in order to brief you about myself, my name is Manoj Poptani and I'm also providing my lectures on a CA final subject, that is strategic financial management, and most of you guys would be already watching those videos itself. So I just hope the kind of response that we are getting from my videos, that is strategic financial management, with the same kind of privilege, I'll be able to provide you some kind of good guidance and make you enable your understanding as far as the topics relating to auditing and laws are concerned. So I do ensure that you guys get the perfect kind of awareness and perfect kind of knowledge as far as these topics are concerned. So my prerogative here would be just to provide you some enlightenment as far as these topics are concerned. I'm sure that the kind of love that you guys are actually pouring on us with our respective videos, the same will be continued. And in case you guys have any of the queries or any of the grievances, I'll be happy to solve them for you. So I'm there for your support. So kindly allow me to begin my concepts with that. So I just hope that Mr. Abhinay Gupta must have told you about entire course syllabus that we'll be covering in the subject of auditing. So I'll be frequently telling you about the tips as to how you should write your examination paper. So that's the first and the foremost important thing. We all have gathered here for one sole objective, and that is, as far as the examination point of view is concerned, that you guys score the maximum number of marks in CA final examination. Apart from that, yes, we also have a secondary motive, and that is to provide you the awareness with respect to auditing so that you can grow in your professional careers. But currently, the first and the foremost thing is clearance of your CA final examination. And with that, it's going to be super awesome. So I just hope that we are going to have a super awesome time, and definitely I'll be enjoying your company and you guys will be enjoying our. So with that kind of thing, let's start with the first essay that I'm going to cover today with you guys. So that is essay 240, Auditor's Responsibilities Relating to Fraud in an Audit of Financial Statements. I'll be covering this particular essay in two videos. The first one, I'm sharing it today. So are you guys all set? Perfect, guys. With that kind of hope, enthusiasm and all the way excitement, fasten up your seatbelts. We are about to take off with our first topic. So guys, what this particular essay is all about. Before starting any of the topic, we'll have to understand this one thing, that we need to ensure that our concepts are thoroughly covered and we don't have any of the doubts in our mind once we complete any of the topics. So in order to ensure that thing, first thing is first. Always try for one thing. You need to know whatever thing you are going to study, what is it all about. Just have the brief idea about it, and then things will be much more simpler for each one of us. The problem with most of the people is they don't have an understanding as to what they are going to study at the first initial sight, and that's going to hamper their career later on. So we don't provide such kind of justification for any of the topics relating to it. So we'll begin each one of our topic with the sole motive of what that particular topic is all about. So guys, this particular essay, that is essay number 240, which is one of the most important essays of the entire standards of auditing. The auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in an audit of financial statements. So this particular essay, guys, it's going to bring out some certain kind of responsibilities of an auditor in relation to fraud. which is existing on the financial statements. So what kind of due diligence, what kind of diligence we as institute members do expect from any of the auditor who has been like serving the institute by way of providing his auditing or professional services. So the one of the most important aspect for it is the fraud. Many of the companies are existing in our corporate world, and certainly all of them are certainly not good. There might be some of the chances wherein in some kind of companies there are some fraudulent things are happening over there. So an auditor is a watchdog. He has to ensure that whatever things are going on in the company, are they going in the right pace with the right kind of direction as far as the financial statements are concerned or not. And if in case there are some kind of problems with relation to fraud, he has to abide by some certain guidelines, and he need to ensure that this particular fraud information is being revealed out in order to ensure that the stakeholders of the company are not going to get hampered. So this particular essay is going to throw some kind of responsibility on an auditor in relation to fraud which is being like existing on the financial statements. And obviously we do understand that due to some inherent limitations in an audit, like paucity of time, limited scope areas, an auditor can't go about like taking care of all the parameters. And we know that particular thing due to some kind of inherent limitations. It's just not possible for an auditor to cover up all the areas. And certainly in that case, it is possible to like skip out any of the fraud. But an auditor should go for a prerogative wherein he has to deliver his best. So we understand that due to some inherent limitations, an auditor is not expected to find out all the frauds, but the prima facie frauds which are being apparently disclosed on the financial statements, an auditor should provide his or her opinion on the same. So he has to find out that fraud risk whichever is apparently available on the financial statements. So this particular essay is going to explain you the kind of characteristics of the fraud, management's and auditor's responsibility with respect to any of the fraud, how to assess the fraud risk, and after assessment, how to respond during that particular fraud risk, and finally, how to evaluate the respective evidences, the different kind of evidences which are indicating fraud. So that is the things which are we guys actually going to study and understand in this particular essay. So I'm sure that you guys are going to enjoy it thoroughly as far as we keep growing with this particular essay. So guys, first thing is first. Before starting out this essay, I would like to ask you guys one thing. What does fraud mean? We have been like provided an opportunity by the Institute of Chartered Accountants India to analyze the auditor's responsibility with respect to fraud in any of the audit for financial statements. So before going about that, we just need to ensure that whether we have a particular proper understanding with relation to what does a fraud actually mean. Are you guys thinking on the same lines? If not, then I'll tell you what the fraud particular means. So guys, fraud is basically an intentional kind of an act by one or more of the individuals among management, the persons who have been like charged with governance of the company, the employees, the third parties who have been like involved in some kind of certain deception in order to obtain some kind of unjust and illegal advantage. So that's particularly a fraud mean. It is absolutely an intentional kind of act. So there is some certain kind of difference between a fraud and a error, and that's this particular thing. So error is basically a thing which is being done on unintentional basis, wherein a fraud basically stands for something which has been done intentionally. So who is going to do a fraud? The management, the employees, the people who have been charged with some kind of governance with that of company, and any other third party who has been like directly influencing some of the financial statements of that company. Why? Because they are going to take some kind of unjust or illegal advantage as to why they are actually going for these kinds of options. So a fraud is basically that thing. So having said that, and what are those kind of things which are going to be like addressed while going for any of the fraud characteristics? So a particular auditor is concerned with a fraud that causes a material misstatement in the financial statements. By material misstatement, I simply mean that something is some kind of misstatement is available which is materially going to affect the financial statement for any of the company. For example, I have been told that the company is into progress with kind of certain employees, and it has been told to us with a recent amendment in service tax that wherever a person is leaving the company, on that particular thing there is some kind of notice period which is served by the employees, and you must be aware of the same thing that the company is going to provide them the notice pay. Obviously, yes. But are you guys even like having a fair idea that on that particular notice pay itself, the company is liable to pay service tax to the government? No. Nobody had a fair idea before a notification came in, wherein a person got to know that yes, there is an instance wherein the company is required to pay the service tax on the notice pay it is paying back to the employees. So, if in case it's a company like Genpact or a bigger one, Accenture kind of companies, wherein there are too many employees and the main asset for the company is in employees particularly. So payroll is the major audit over there. So if in case this thing is lacking in such case, and the same is not being paid or is reflected in some illogical manner, or the one which is not appropriate to disclose of the financial statements, don't you think that's a particular misstatement and that is material? So auditor is basically concerned with that kind of fraud if that's causing a material misstatement in the financial statements. And primarily there are two types of material misstatement. One is involved with fraudulent financial reporting, and another one is with misappropriation of assets. So guys, since my profile has always remained to be from the one which has been specifically into doing of statutory audits and internal audits, as far as my corporate experience is concerned, I'm a product of Big Four. So I'll be sharing with you all these instances wherein you can think about of like vouching out the figures wherein you will be like committing, the company will be committing some kind of fraud as far as the financial reporting is concerned, or some misappropriation is going to be done. So I'll be sharing with you all such instances in my forthcoming slides and you'll get to know. Apart from that, one of the major characteristic of a fraud is higher detection risk and judgment. So guys, since we all are aware that this particular frauds, the bigger frauds are being planned and the more riskier frauds are being planned by management and those charged with governance rather than the employees. So since it has been like taken care of in a very great kind of concealed and carefully laid scheme, because it has been like very carefully laid by the management, so there are chances of higher detection risk. By higher detection risk, I simply mean that there are certain chances that the auditor might not be able to trace that fraud, and there are higher chances of that risk of not detection of it. So that's why it's higher detection risk and judgment is involved over here. And higher amount of judgment is actually involved while evaluating any of the frauds. Be it any of the fraud like a fraud involving any of the accounting estimates, accounting policies, financial statements. So it has to be taken care of. So these are the fraud characteristic. Apart from that, the management fraud is actually very difficult to detect if I'll compare the same with a fraud which is being done by employee. So management is going to creamily layer it off in a very carefully laid scheme. So employee fraud is generally like easily detectable wherein a person has made a fraud, and that is quite easily traceable. But if I'll talk about my experience with management frauds, that are extremely hard to detect, and you need a tough call taking while going to ensure whether the company is actually involved in some certain kind of fraud or not. So these are the characteristics of fraud: misstatements in financial statements, fraudulent financial reporting, and misappropriation of assets. There are some chances of higher detection risk and high amount of judgment is being involved in this, and management fraud is extremely difficult to detect than the employee fraud. So guys, that is something about fraud. What does fraud mean and what are the characteristics of fraud? You'll have to take care of all these things. Next comes in, this is one of the question. You guys now will be having an idea as to why in my previous slide I didn't told you anything about the ways to commit the fraud by fraudulent financial reporting or misappropriation of assets. Why? Because I wanted to discuss you with the same thing as far as this question asked in CA final is concerned. Wherever possible, I'll be sharing with you guys the questions which are being asked in CA final examination. By that means, you'll be able to know as to what kind of questions generally the institute is going to ask you up, and what kind of expectation institute has from you guys as students while providing them the answers. So stick to that. So guys, this question was asked in CA final examination for May 2012. In the course of audit of A Limited, you suspect the management has indulged in fraudulent financial reporting. State the possible sources of such fraudulent reporting. So, what are the different kind of ways wherein a company or a management or those charged with governance can commit fraudulent financial reporting? Number one, that is recording of fictitious journal entries. So, obviously, the financial statements are being prepared with the first thing. The first and the foremost things comes into the picture as journal. So, if a journal entry is made in a fictitious manner, definitely it's going to impact the financial reporting at a much larger level. So if you'll be recording any of the fictitious journal entries at the beginning, definitely it's going to be a manner wherein you can commit the fraudulent financial reporting. Second, inappropriately adjusting some of the assumptions. Supposedly, some of the assumptions have been like provided by the institute's guidance notes, study material and other things, and you don't follow such assumptions wherein you try and record your journal entries with some kind of inappropriate adjustments. So that's also a way wherein you can commit the fraudulent financial reporting. Another thing comes in picture as omitting, advancing or delaying recognition of events and transactions. So it's not the case that if you have like got some kind of event which has already occurred and you are just omitting it to record on the financial statements, that's not the only thing that is going to be like covered under fraudulent financial reporting. Also, if in case you are delaying it for a like past kind of period or like a future kind of a period, or you're like already provided the entry wherein such thing has already not happened, it has been told to us by the institute that revenue should be recognized only when the complete risk and rewards are transferred and there is no uncertainty as far as the ultimate collection is concerned. If in case my revenue shouldn't have been booked by now, but I've already booked it a month before, don't you think that's a thing which has actually not happened? That's an event or a transaction that is about to happen in next month and I'm already recording it as my revenue. So that's exactly the kind of fraudulent financial reporting. I am camouflaging my financial statements. So omitting, advancing or delaying. All these three cases will fall under the criteria of fraudulent financial reporting. Fourth one comes in as concealing or not disclosing the facts. I am concealing something and I'm not disclosing those facts in my financial statements. Why? Because that is going to impact my overall company's profitability. What kind of those things would be? Supposedly, some company has filed a suit against my company and I know that I'm going to lose, and I'm sure about it that certainly I'm going to lose. My lawyers have like already told me up that there are almost 90% chances of getting failed with that particular kind of suit and we are going to lose it. And if in case I'm not disclosing that particular thing in my financial statements by way of notes to the management or notes to the stakeholders, don't you think I am concealing my important fact in that financial statements? Absolutely, the company is concealing. So that will be categorized under the list of fraudulent financial reporting. Next will come in as complex transactions structured to misrepresent. For example, Ram has been provided by his mother, go and buy some toffees for ₹5. Now Ram comes back and simply answers, Mum, I got 2 toffees for this one, 3 toffees for this. Out of the same, I provided this to Sham. Sham again provided me back some kind of chocolates. Out of those chocolates, I have provided some chocolates to Sita. And again, Sita Duck provided me some kind of chocolates, and then back those chocolates were being surrendered to father. Father took them up and finally provided the same chocolates to Sham. Isn't it too complex? Absolutely it is. There are some of the companies who are by like working under strict kind of things wherein they are just camouflaging things, sham transactions, and doing entry kind of business. They simply pass entries and get the entries done with the kind of black and money getting into white. So what do? They simply turn simple transactions into complex one, which are actually structured to misrepresent. So that is again a criteria wherein fraudulent financial reporting will be done. Next thing comes in altering records, terms, or documents. I am just changing my terms. I'm just changing my records. I'm just changing my documents. So obviously that is going to be covered under the criteria of fraudulent financial reporting. So guys, these are the ways wherein a company and its management can go for the option of committing fraudulent financial reporting. You'll have to stay aware with that thing. You're an auditor and you have to take care of all these things. Whether some kind of fraud is going on in that company, you'll have to treat yourself as a watchdog. Don't worry, you'll be able to do so. Stay connected. Next thing comes in as misappropriation of assets. So how in certain ways assets can be misappropriated? So one thing, embezzlement. By embezzlement, I simply mean embezzlement of cash, embezzlement of receipts, embezzlement of uh, these things, all my current assets, my liquidity position. Uh, so embezzling any of the receipts is basically be covered under misappropriation of assets. I am misappropriating my asset by embezzlement. Next thing comes in as stealing. Stealing physical assets and intellectual property. That's again will be covered under misappropriation of asset. Causing an entity to pay for goods and services which have actually been not received. I haven't received any of the goods, but by some reason my accountant files up an passes books some entry wherein it shows that my company is liable to pay some certain amount for some certain goods and services which have actually not been availed by my company. So again, that will be considered under misappropriation of assets. And the last one, using an entity's asset for personal use. All, like if you'll be talking about any of the services or offices which are providing some government structure, so all the government offices, usually people do these kind of things over there. I won't be offensive on that part, but that has been like taken care of, that we guys are taking undue advantage of the services which are being provided by government offices in our wrong senses. Recently I was just watching out a video wherein I just got to know that some kind of office was insurance based office, and a lady was asked to pass on some of the claims, and she was actually playing the solitaire game on her desktop while the entire line was waiting for her to just provide them the requisite documents. So what are we doing? We are actually using some kind of entity's assets for our personal use, for our personal entertainment. So even this will be categorized in misappropriation of asset. So this was the question that was asked in CA final examination for May 2012. I just hope that you guys got the entire clarity with respect to this particular question and how to attempt it up. So remember one thing, first and the foremost thing, auditing paper is just about two things. One, presentation, second, your technical knowledge. Institute expects you to write the answers in technical knowledge. You'll need to abide by all the professional education that the institute is actually providing you up. So they expect the kind of lines that you write in your question as your answer, those should be technical in nature. That should represent that yes, you belong to a category of chartered accountants, the dignified profession. So one, technical knowledge. Second, save your time and time of the person who is going to check your paper by using more of bullet points. Don't try to write your examination in paragraphs. We are not supposed to provide them stories, write long or cook up stories in the examination sheet. It's a professional examination and we need to ensure that we write our examination in bullet points. Try and maximize your chances of getting successful in CA final examination by writing to the point. So this is going to be the best kind of presentation for you guys. Stay to the point, save your time and the time of your paper checker as well. So again, let's move to our next topic, and that will be the auditors and management's responsibility as far as the fraud is concerned. So guys, you are auditor, so you can relax on one bit, and that is that primary responsibility is not yours. It is of the management and those charged with governance team to ensure that no fraud is going on in the financial state as far as the financial statements are concerned. So the primary responsibility is of management and those charged with governance team. So an auditor is basically responsible for obtaining the reasonable assurance that the financial statements taken as a whole are free from material misstatements, whether by fraud or error. The audit of financial statements is basically aiming at the expression of opinion and not on the meticulous detection of each fraud and error. We as auditors are supposed to provide our opinion on the true and fair view of the financial statements and not to have a meticulous kind of detection of each and every fraud and error which has been going on in the company. So we need to ensure that yes, that the company's financial statements are free from any of the material misstatements. Though the institute never expects us to find out each and every fraud which has been going on in the company. That can be very minute one as well. So some kind of embezzlement issue is going on with respect to like 10,000, 20,000 rupees. Are we supposed to provide the explanation for same as well? Absolutely not. The auditor's responsibility is actually going to be obtain the reasonable assurance that yes, the financial statements are free from material misstatements and not petty issues. So that's the auditor's responsibility. An auditor this ability should be like detecting the frauds based on various type of factors. One such thing will be the skillfulness of the perpetrator, the one who is actually going to ensure that fraud is actually happening in the company. So who has like already assigned his or her employees or management in a way skillfully claimed that kind of scheme. He has laid that scheme of fraud. So what kind of skill is that person is going to have? Whether the CFO of the company is being involved over here, is it CEO or the executive director? So we need to ensure auditors' ability should be to detect the fraud based on these type of factors. One has to know, okay, what is the skill of the perpetrator? So whether he is a competent person to ensure that yes, fraud can go on without the auditor's eye watch out that or not. So that's one of the aspect. Next comes in the frequency and the extent of manipulation. Okay, what kind of manipulation is going on in the company? Auditor should know that. Okay, and apart from that, what is the extent of that manipulation? Is it particular manipulation which is going on is going to impact some other thing as far as the financial statements are concerned or not? One has to take care of these things as well. Next things comes in, what is the degree of collusion which is being involved over here? Is it seriously going to impact the financial statements? One has to take care of it as well as an auditor. Fourth one will be what is the relative size of individual amounts manipulated. Let's suppose there is some fraud going on in a company, though the amount is very small, it's like 20,000. However, the relative size of the individual amounts, somewhere it's going on in 20,000, another way it's going on for 18,000, again it's for 15,000. In the total cumulative amount will come to be in crores. Then you will have to ensure that yes, auditor's ability should be to detect the fraud on the basis of these individual amount as well. One has to ensure that. Next will come in as seniority of the individuals which are involved in fraud. Again, the same thing. So whether it's a CEO of the company or CFO of the company or ED of the company, dude, they know each and every bit of its company. They know it very well how to take care of frauds and how to camouflage things. You'll be taking care of the things, okay, they are well and good on the front side, but you never know. They are running the company from the past so many years. You being an auditor, you have the explanation. Yes, you are studying a very good professional education, but they have been like running a company for so many years. So you need to be on, as far as your knowledge is concerned, you need to be on the equal parallel line amongst those people, because you need to ensure that yes, how about like these kind of seniors are being involved in any of the fraud in the company. So you need to have and get all your homework done by the time you challenge them up with any of the fraud or collusion which you see in that company. So an auditor's responsibility and ability to detect all the fraud depends on these factors: skillfulness of perpetrator, frequency and extent of manipulation, degree of collusion involved, relative size of individual amounts manipulated, and seniority of individuals involved in fraud. So guys, that was the auditor's and management responsibility. So I have like segregated both the things in order to make you understand it in a simpler manner. I hope you got that. Perfect guys. Let's move to our next segment. and that will be professional skepticism. So it's a pretty kind of a new term for many of you. But however, if in case you have like studied your IPCC study material which has been provided by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I damn sure about this thing that you guys would have like understood this topic in your inter level as well. So a professional skepticism is basically like having some kind of questioning mind, which an institute of ours usually expect from each of its students as well as members. So you need to have that kind of questioning mind wherein you'll always go with the questions, okay, whether the company is actually working on the good lines or not, whether the company's financial statements are free from misstatements, whether there is some certain kind of fraud. Okay, I got to know that some error is going on over there. Then you need to trace. You need to ask these questions all the time while delivering your duty as an auditor. So skepticism basically means some kind of doubt, some kind of distrust, suspicion, disbelief that okay, I doubt. My intuition is saying that okay, something is not going on properly in that company. We usually feel that things. Wherever you go for an audit in any of your articleship training firms, you need to have that kind of watchdog image in your mind for yourself that yes, there is some certain kind of doubt which is going on in the financial statements. Sir, should I dig down deep further? Ask your partner all the time. If in case he doesn't reply, ask your manager. Go and ask them up if in case you find out these kind of instances wherein you have some certain kind of doubt or suspicion with the financial statements. So this particular thing is called as professional skepticism. So an auditor would not investigate in depth unless some circumstances arose his or her suspicion. Prima facie, everything is going on very good, superb, and you are having a fair idea that yes, everything is going superb, and yes, there are no frauds, no errors which are going on in the company. It's a plain, good kind of a company is going smoothly well. Will you dig down further? No. You won't further investigate in depth. Why? Because the circumstances don't arouse your suspicion in that. So uh, it's always not good to dig down any further if in case the prima facie instances are showing you that absolutely everything is going on good. So always try to go for that kind of an area wherein you find out that yes, suspicion, something is going on wrong in it. And even if you have like having the slightest of intuition that yes, something is going on wrong over there, just go ahead and dig it down in depth further. You'll definitely trace out some of the instances wherein the financial statements have been materially misstated. And I'm sure that you'll be able to do it. So, an auditor is going to like perfectly require some of the professional skepticism in verifying many of the areas. So, areas wherein there is some certain kind of risk of material misstatement due to fraud and error, go and get into the deep of that. Second, the cases wherein the management's integrity is in question, or I should say, the management's representation is unreliable, and you know that they are camouflaging things. They are not telling you the truth. Go and dig down further. Next, the auditor has some certain kind of suspicion that the financial statements are material misstatement. So again, you'll have to dig down further. So you need to go in depth in that cases if certain circumstances arose. Next, if in case unless the auditor has reason to believe that some contrary is being done, he may accept the records and documents to be very genuine. So there is no such kind of problem over there. And if conditions identified during the audit causes the auditor to believe that a document may not be authentic, then in that case, he or she shall investigate further. And in that case, the auditor is going to investigate further the forgery matters only if in case his suspicion is aroused. Again, the responses of all the inquiries from the management that you receive or those charged with governance that you receive, and if those things, the kind of documentation and you receive that, and you if you believe that those are inconsistent, then again you should investigate those inconsistencies as well. So that's all about professional skepticism. You need to have it while you go for any of the audit for any of the company, be it smaller one, be it Tata, be it Birla, or be it XYZ limited company. So you need to ensure and have this kind of attitude during each of your engagement. So professional skepticism. Next thing. So guys, this question was asked in CA final examination for November 2009, and that is the auditor's duties for prevention and detection of fraud. So what are the auditor's duties? So again, I have just briefed you about all these things in my last slides. So this will be very easy for you again to reiterate in a manner, because this question was asked in CA final examination, and I am not going to leave any of the question for you guys, because I want you all to be future chartered accountants, and I know you can do it. For sure, you'll be able to do it. Believe me. So, number one, obtain the reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements. Second, maintain an attitude of professional skepticism. This is what Institute expects us. Third, recognize the possibility of material misstatement due to fraud. So, each and every possibility of material misstatement which can happen due to fraud, we'll have to take care of it. Next thing, unless the doubtful situations are present, the auditor may accept the records and documents as genuine. There is no harm in it. And if in case the conditions suggest otherwise, then the auditor shall investigate further. Where the responses to inquiries are inconsistent, the auditor shall investigate all those inconsistencies. So if in case the next time whenever you are appearing for your CA final examination and you get to know that yes, this question is being asked in it, don't go for paragraph based answers I am repeating again and again, because bullet points are the best thing which you can do in order to ensure that you get success in your CA final examination. Stay to the point, stay into some kind of best presentation with that. So if in case this question would have come for 4 marks, I would have pointed 4 best points on it. If in case this question would have been asked for 6 marks, I'll be presenting all these 6 bullet points in it. I am not saying that you don't need to briefly provide your points. You need to do that, but try to provide the same thing into points, bullet points. Don't try to go for any of the method wherein you will be writing some of the paragraphs in it. So bullet point presentation is always the best. That saves times. Perfect guys. I'll be concluding my video with a dose of motivation, and that will be throw your dreams into the space like a kite, and you don't know what it will bring back. A new life, a new friend, a new love, a new country. This quote was being mentioned by Anish Nin. Guys, just learn to live your dreams. Just dare to see beyond all those things which are being which actually hang you up with some kind of certain day-to-day routines. Your life is not supposed to get settled, pay bills and die someday. You need to have that kind of some ambition in your life wherein you can do anything for it, be it anything. So see your dreams, imagine your dreams, have vision for yourself, your family, your relatives, your friends around. Throw your dreams into the space like a kite, and you actually aren't aware about any of the things. You may get some new life, a new friend, a new love, a new country, anything. So that's extremely possible. All you need to do is just believe in your dreams. Currently that would be becoming a CA, I know, but once you become a CA, definitely in that moment, in that particular moment, don't stop yourself. Again, see another dream for yourself, and that way you will be growing in your life, and people will love you, see you growing, because with you being growing, they'll also grow. Perfect guys. I just hope that you guys enjoyed the presentation very well. Do revise your topic. Again, I'm saying, because revision is the key to success in your CA final examination, be it any examination, but as far as my CA examination is concerned, it's a vast course. You need to revise it time and again. So do revise your topic. With this, I'll be saying thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting via questions, queries in the YouTube comment boxes. We'll love to help you up.